Hello, hello. Hello, hello. 50, Johan, Aki, welcome, welcome, welcome. Sui, sui, sui. How are we doing today? Doing well? I hope, everyone. Okay. How's everybody doing? Good? Having a good week? I know I'm a day early on the pre-match stuff. I'm gonna have to repeat this, I'm sure, because people will ask. I know I'm a day early on my usual for pre-match stuff, but my son's off from school tomorrow, so I'm going to be I'll be out tomorrow, basically. That's the reason. Arsenal hate watch along, you know. We'll talk about the watch along thing in a minute, because I've been promising on that something cool is coming on that watch along platform, and this weekend it is. It's starting this weekend, so we're gonna see some really cool stuff that's gonna be on that watch along platform that will make its way to YouTube as well. Because I'll get to record things over there. An Arsenal hate watch along is not a bad idea, though. That's not a bad way to spend the afternoon. Maybe after this video, we'll switch over. We'll watch some more of it. Yeah, maybe we will. Maybe we'll sit here and watch it a little bit together. Good evening. Good evening. Yeah, we could talk about some Class A stuff and all of that. But yes, just to repeat, the reason I'm doing a video today, a day early. Why is the presser a day early? Did anybody explain that? I don't know either. I don't know why the presser is a day early, but it is, for some reason, a day early. And but yeah, I'm doing it a day early because I will not be in the office tomorrow. Oh, he needs to pick up his kid too tomorrow. That makes sense. So his kid's out of school as well. Fair enough. That works. Yeah. So we're out of school. Oh, maybe this was a weird week, right? With the way that the schedules are. Because we're gonna know, because next week we'll be out of Europa on Thursday, so it'll have to be a Friday press conference for the Sunday game, right? But there may not be a post-match on Thursday. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Regardless, it's not that important, is it? It is not really that important. Issa, welcome. You know, Issa, I never knew what to make of you, but you do crack me up now. Now that I get your game, it makes me laugh. All right. Okay. Yeah. We're playing on Saturday. Next week it'll be Sunday, but yeah, we're playing on Saturday. I think we're the later game on Saturday, 5:30 p.m. UK time, or 5:30. Yeah, it's 5:30. Okay, cool. So it'll be nice, 5:30 p.m. UK instead of 5:30 a.m. my time to play. And then, are we playing next Wednesday? Honestly, my time and days are so off, so don't take me seriously on that. I know that tomorrow, because I have to figure, not tomorrow. See, there I go again. I know that on Saturday it's at 10:30, but you're right. We play on Wednesday next week. So you're right. We do the press conference on Thursday. It's the following week. We play Porto away on a Thursday. Yeah, that's what it is. And then it goes to Thursday to Sundays from there. Yeah. I'm here to spread love and positivity. Unban from Discord, please. Depends what you got banned for, honestly. I'm happy to unban you for certain things, but not other things. Okay, what do I want to talk about? What's on my lineup here today? Right. The stadium. Yes, it's a yap sesh, but let's talk about some actual news. I just like to start off with some good vibes and conversation with the people in the community. I mean, some friends, some new people, some all of that, you know? Yes. I don't have an option. There's Champions League games all the time. And I was working this morning. I don't want to wait till afterwards. Then it's 10 o'clock. Have I considered playing and streaming FC25? You know, I did like a couple of streams a while back on 23, I think it was. And honestly, I don't have the personality for it. I'm not, I think that to stream games, video games especially, is different, at least for me, than doing these videos. where I can speak from. I'm just myself on these videos. I don't think that I have the entertainer gene in me to do like the video game streams. I can be natural on watch-alongs and things too. It's just how I am. But I have to control it, because if I play games, I get way too mad. I'm way too mad. And so too mad, like to the point there's no way that I would be on here with some of the things that come out of my mouth playing games. So I have to tone that down, but then it's just boring. So I don't want to do either way. So I don't want to do it either way. But yeah, let's talk about the stadium. So with regards to Old Trafford, if you have followed me since the early days of the Ineos takeover, you would know that the plans for putting a new stadium into place have been there for a long, long time. It's something that Sir Jim and the Ineos side of things have been looking at since before they even got into the bidding process. When they first met with the Glazers ages ago of figuring all of that stuff out and trying to find out, what would be the best way. They've always felt that a new stadium was going to be the route that they were going to end up taking with Manchester United. Now, they've been exploring the routes for funding and things like that. How to do it. There's things presently like they're raising 400 million. We don't really know what that's for as of yet. But as I said about the finances, they haven't published it. I think they haven't published it. I'm actually going to look it up while we're here, because these are the types of things sometimes we don't actually see. But anyway, they're trying to raise 400 million. It could be relevant. It could be relevant to the stadium plans. But they haven't published what it's for yet, so we don't actually know. Okay, they haven't filed anything new yet, so we don't have anything there. But yeah, we'll have to see how it works. Yes, there could be ways where it's funded, converting to equity. There could be, in an ideal world, a situation where the Glazers are accepting some money in order to, are giving up some money. You're selling some shares but that's going to raise the value of the club, which just a balance on what makes them more money and all of that. So there's a lot of things up in the air in terms of how to fund this. But a new stadium has always been the plan. That's always been what they've wanted at the end of the day, is a new stadium to bring Old Trafford up to, the standards of the biggest clubs in football and what it should be, which is the biggest club in football. And, you've heard Jim Ratcliffe talk about this quite a lot, about, the Wembley of the North, all of that, about the grounds around it. We've done tours, and this was not on accident, right? United doing the preseason, Las Vegas at the Allegiant Stadium there, one of the newest, best stadiums in the world. And then again, now at SoFi in Los Angeles. And the one in Los Angeles, I think, especially stands out, because if you have been there, it isn't just the stadium. It's everything around it, right? And I think a lot of people who weren't there saw recently like a post kind of go, yeah, SoFi probably changed their lives. You saw that post go viral of the, it kind of went all around. Am I old saying viral? Is that still a thing? But, went viral of that place. They had a pre-match event there where people are watching it, and it's got like it's like a huge like dome, and it's like in your face. You're at the grounds, and it's got almost like rail seating and stuff. I think a lot of you saw that, right? If you hadn't, you saw that. That was a pre-match event there before the preseason game, which was really cool, and it's an amazing place. But that's right by the stadium. It's and there's a huge park and all of that, and then they had the Cosm, right? And you had to march. Had to march, went and marched there afterwards and all that, but it was like a good mile walk, right? That's super cool. Like the area having that kind of stuff. Yeah. And it's the area having all of that around the stadium, and there being, a whole amazing atmosphere for it, not just the stadium itself, but everything around it. And I think that's obviously what United would like to have, and Ineos would like to have for United in the long term. And so obviously a lot of the talk has been about, regenerating the area as well and building it up. And so that's what they want to do. So the issue has become for a long time that, originally they were looking at it and saying, of course, we would never want to, and I agreed with that. There's the challenge. Yeah, you have Gary's Hotel and that's it, right? The challenge of it being like still a football atmosphere versus not, right? But obviously you've seen it with Madrid. I think that you've seen it with other clubs. They thought there would be no atmosphere afterwards, and there is. The clubs that have atmosphere have atmosphere. It's not as much the stadiums. Obviously, the difference in the American stadiums is you're really far from the pitch, right? And the seating is not, it's a lot of luxury seats and box seats, so it's less for atmosphere. But I think those are basic issues rather than the general issue. The SoFi Stadium in general, its indoor/outdoor thing is unbelievable. It's super cool. Leipzig beating Atletico, okay. And, and so that obviously, they wanted to see these stadiums up close and see what it does, and it impressed everybody. Everybody look at that and think, that's what we want. Well, the problem is, it is really, really hard to do that. Yeah, and financially, it's massive. I mean, United could, $5 billion. I know, it's expensive. Look, this is a lot of money. But it's kind of like, I think what they were looking at is that the regeneration of the area could be something that is done with the city. The stadium, obviously, they're going to have to figure out the funding and paid for. But it costs a lot for Madrid Stadium. It costs a lot for Tottenham Stadium. And for when, it costs a lot for these things, but it's worth it. I think Madrid made their money back like immediately, because you can also do other events and other things and all the stuff that goes into it that you can sell. It will make the club more money to have a stadium, and you put the terms on a payoff and over a long, long time and all that. So it's not like you have to necessarily. It doesn't have to be a financial strain on the club in order to do it. But then the question is Old Trafford, right? The question is Old Trafford. The problem with Old Trafford is that I don't think you can do all of this with Old Trafford, all the things that they want to do. Would a new stadium hamper us finance? It depends entirely on the funding, but when it's done right, then no. Then no, it does not have to. And look, I give only my opinion, because even if I were to go over twice a year, right, to Old Trafford now, it doesn't matter. I'm not local. I give my opinion on the basis of business, right? Of just purely from, and I understand there's other sides of it. So when I'm talking, understandably, it's from a perspective, not an entire perspective, but it's also what Ineos's perspective are on it, what they were looking at, and what they've been looking at since the beginning, is between the partnerships, the sponsorships, the events, the everything, that it would be a bigger project for, the club in the end, and would improve it. The problem with the Old Trafford is you just can't. And I think that anybody would tell you who's in construction, I've seen people discussing this, but anybody would tell you in construction is that in a lot of instances it costs more and it's harder to do a rehab than it is to do a new build. And I think Old Trafford is an example of that, because the baseline of Old Trafford is old. It's very old, right? But it has some, obviously it has a soul to it, but it's practically like you got to gut it and redo it. And at the same time, then where do you play? What do you do in the short term? So that's been the study, is like, how would this work? Can you scale it down? Obviously the question was, can you scale it down and then make it a women's team, academy team, all of that? Right, it's quite possible. We don't know. They've done it, but they've clearly determined, I think really clearly determined, that fixing Old Trafford would be so expensive and take so much time, it may never be what you want it to be, right? That it's probably going to be worse than rebuilding. So that's a tricky thing. And obviously you'd want architecture plans, things like that have to do with, that keep some of the heart and soul of it. There's all of that. And I know that if we ask, because we've done these surveys before, we've done these questions, we've done these polls before, you'd get huge support for new Trafford, a new stadium, and shrinking the stadium down. Now, that was the whole plan That was the plan, okay? Just to be clear, I want to make this very, very clear because I think we got to be fair to them about this based on what happens. The plan was, and the hope was, to build a new stadium and to use the old one for women's academy team. That's something I've been talking about for a long time. That was the plan. But they have to do all this study on it, and that's what they've been doing and researching and looking at. Now, it's kind of odd because yesterday both Ducker and Wheeler put out two different articles. Ducker's article said, as I read it or understood it, that they're still looking at that plan, while Wheeler said that they couldn't do that plan. I don't know which of those is correct. Nobody's really confirmed it. I don't actually know on that. I don't know if it's just being discussed. I honestly don't. Maybe there's a misunderstanding or something like that in there. But, yeah. Wheeler was basing it off what Gary Neville said. And what did Gary Neville say exactly? Can you clarify that for me? Because I'm confused by that. Because James Ducker's article still implied that the ideal scenario they were still working towards would probably be new stadium and scaling back Old Trafford. Oh, I see. Gary Neville said scaling down is probably unfeasible. Interesting. Look, Gary Neville would know on this. He's involved in the project. He's had a lot of direct discussions with everyone on it, with Jim Ratcliffe and other people directly. But we do know it's going to be very expensive either way, right? Look, the cheapest option, I say cheap, but most affordable option is bulldozing Old Trafford. I know that sounds absolutely horrific, but is bulldozing Old Trafford and building a new stadium, right? That's the cheapest. That's the most affordable direct route. It doesn't solve the problem of where you play the academy and the women's team, for what it's worth. But surely, if they're not on the same days, why can't you do them at the new stadium too? I mean, a lot of people don't, but you can have lots of events at the new stadium and things like that. I definitely wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, build the ladies and youth a new stadium somewhere else on the plot. Yeah, maybe that's the case. I mean, look, maybe it's cheaper to bulldoze Old Trafford and build a new stadium, a new small second stadium for that. Maybe that's more affordable than scaling Old Trafford down. It might be. We don't know, but that is possible. So yeah, I mean, it's complicated. So we know that that would be everybody's preference, however. But what I do want to ask you all on this front is, if you couldn't scale Old Trafford down, if you couldn't, this is the caveat. If you couldn't scale down OT, which option? I want to ask this because I honestly don't know. New stadium. Right. Yeah. Yes. Let's consider that in the case of these two circumstances, the costs are not that different. And between the cost and timeline, they're really not that different. I mean, this is like a sacrilegious question. I understand. I actually do. Now, bear in mind that they'd want to, that any new stadium, they want to keep the feel and keep a lot of the things that made Old Trafford what it was. I'm not saying, yeah, look, Avrad, I'm not surprised by that. Like, I've been to a lot of stadiums in the US, and it's not, new is not always better. A lot of it comes down to atmosphere and the feel and all of that too. I personally think, just from an outside perspective, that you'd get a good atmosphere at United no matter what, because it's the fans, right? Plus, we've had a shit atmosphere, no offense, but we've had plenty of complaints of having a bad atmosphere at Old Trafford in some recent years anyway. And a lot of attempts to fix that. And we know it comes down to the fans and the decisions that are made and music and all those types of things too, right? I'm not saying that counteracts, the history of the place and all of that. I'm just curious. I think that at the end of the day, the atmosphere is created by the people running it. And sure, I'm sure there's places where it's not, like you said, the Stretford end and all of that. But certainly, there's been a lot of talk of the atmosphere not being the same in other parts of it. But doesn't that kind of go to show, DB, just out of curiosity, that the Stretford end is made by the people, isn't it? By the people who sit there. Wouldn't you agree with that? The atmosphere, the draw, the pull, the noise is made by the people who are there more than anything else. Don't you think that's the case? Because that's my takeaway, is that the people who are there are committed, lifelong, diehard United fans, and that's what you want. The best, I mean, I wouldn't say best, but the most of the most, right? The people who will be there no matter what, and will put their voice there, Yeah. But, again, it's not this, like I said, this is obviously, you're going to have the people who are there who have different views on everything and how they incorporate it. Yeah. Look, I'm not surprised by the votes that we have, that its majority would rather have a new stadium and demolish Old Trafford than to renovate it and have no new stadium, But I would agree, in a lot of sense, it's about, we're all fans. Yeah, that's fair. And that's fair too. And that's true too, right? Like, there's hundreds of millions of United fans potentially, if you believe the numbers. So surely, it has something to do with everybody. I can say that, like, if I want to go over there now, outside of the stadium, there's nothing, right, to do. There's no point. Where, that's not true of many places, right? Yeah, could you imagine they renovate Old Trafford and they find out, like, in doing so, there's complications with construction and it's a bust, or, that they'd have to do it again in 15, 20 years? That would be pretty bad, wouldn't it? That would be awful. It'd be like the worst possible case scenario. And then it could become an easily a money sink. I get that. But Andy, and I don't disagree with you, though. There's a feeling at Old Trafford that money can't buy. I don't disagree with you at all. I don't want to write that aspect of it off, in the slightest. My thing would be, I do think you can create that, because it still comes down to the fans, right? It still comes down to the fans more than anything. It comes down to the people. And how they, right, at some point we do have to move into the future, right? Yeah, so anyway, that's, I wasn't surprised necessarily by the vote. I'm not saying that reflects everybody, just who's in here. But I wouldn't, when they send that fan survey out to all members of United, I wouldn't be surprised if it's pretty similar, the response out there, if they ask those kind of questions. Hamza, I think the issue is they would love to turn it, to make it viable to be like a museum and keep its memory and all that. They'd have to scale it down, right? They'd have to scale it down. Yeah, they'd have to scale it down. And that's the problem, is if it's too expensive to scale it down, then that would be the issue. A new stadium, it takes 4 to 5 years usually to get done. So yeah, 2030. Yeah, that is the estimate, because they want to start on whatever project they want to do. They want to start early next year, and then adding into that, yeah, massive home end, super close to the pitch. Look, those are all things that I would say make sense. Is working. Look, at the end of the day, it's like, I don't know, not to be corny about it, but like, home is is what you make it, right? And it's where you are. You make new memories in the home. It becomes your future, instead of just the past. And that's what we got to do. So that's my view. That's where I'm at. I think it will take 5 years, yeah. But it's a long time. But then it's something that will be. I mean, it's 5 years. It's 20 years too late, isn't it? When you think about it, right? It would have been nice 15 years, 10 years. One way or another, this should have been done a long time ago. And we wouldn't have to be questioning it now, right? And it's kind of funny, because if you think about it, like, if it was done during the successful years, I don't think you would have got as much. Maybe you would, maybe not, because it wasn't, things have aged a lot in the last 10, 12 years as things have advanced. But I feel like if it had been done during the successful years and then you continue to have success in the new years, in the new stadium, then people wouldn't mind so much. Yeah, center screen. Well, a lot of football stadiums don't have the center screens, right? Like to do it, but people are telling me things like, when you look at simple things like being able to actually see the replays and VAR and stuff like that, like there's certain things I feel like that I'm not saying that you don't get the classic vibe of the stadium, but it's like just certain things. Yeah, so it's tricky, but I get it. I get the difficulties. I honestly do. I get why it's such it should be highly debated, right? It should be highly debated. It shouldn't be easy, but this is the direction they've wanted to go for a long time. This is the way they've wanted to go for a long time. And if it adds 50 to 100 million, if it adds a bunch of revenue to the stadium, and a more to do and more to that, then, at least it will give you, it's going to help the team do better. So, all right. Yeah, let's move on from it, but I wanted to get your views on that, no athletic track. Yeah. But, I wanted to get your views on it. It's kind of, I understand it's difficult, but I think most people are probably somewhat on the same page, even if it's begrudging. But this is the route they want to go, is a new stadium. And I think they're going to do whatever it takes to make that happen. I hope they can still scale it back, but we need to be sure if that is viable or not, as well. Going on to the next subject, let's move on to start talking about Palace and moving forward. Injury returns. Obviously, we saw Rasmus Hojlund and Mason Mount return to training this week, but maybe too soon for them for Saturday. Certainly too soon to start. One of the things we want to do is take a lot less risks. And, Ten Hag admitted this today, which said last year, we got a lot of heat for. Now, some of this was forced. That last year, a lot of players were forced back too early. We're not going to do that this year. And I understand that, that history is there. That we had to last year because we didn't have enough players, that we had to force players to come back sooner to play, maybe. But it certainly didn't help. And this year they want to be a lot more careful. They want to be a lot more careful with the injuries. You can see that everybody's kind of coming back at an extended timeline. I mean, Hojlund is back a little bit late. Mount is back a little bit late. Shaw's not back yet. Yoro's going to be a little while longer. And, that they want to be very careful with that because you do it right now. You don't get the recurring injuries early in the year when players don't have a lot of match fitness. When you get more injuries, get them back and get them into rhythm without them recurring and being rushed back. And then hopefully by the, second half of the season, we're really robust and we don't have these issues, rather than just completely falling apart. Mount's not back 2 weeks early. It was only supposed to be like a 3-week thing. And it's been a few weeks already, unfortunately. He's back right on time. Yeah, he's back right on time, maybe even a little bit on the longer end. Kind of on time, but he's probably not going to be actually on the pitch until next week, potentially. Yeah, Johnny Evans, yeah, well, he was in that Palace game, Johnny Evans played through injury, basically, yeah, unfortunately, last year. So we don't want to do that now. I think Yoro won't be back until closer to the next international break, if even after that, potentially. To be quite careful with him. So yeah, that being said, it's an interesting thing. I wanted to debate this a little bit. If you think about the team, when everybody's healthy, there's 3 or 4 senior players who won't make the squad anymore. When you look at it, mostly I think, the people kind of who potentially won't be involved, it would be Anthony, Evans, Lindelof. Those are like your fringe first teamers without any youth in there that wouldn't actually make the squad when we're healthy. And I just did notice that certainly with all the departures and everything, we also do have a deeper squad than before, because The quality, I think, in depth is better. You know, when Casemiro can be your backup. When Casemiro can be your backup. When Casemiro can be your backup, that's really good. That helps a lot. When Lindelof and Evans are your 5th and 6th instead of your 3rd and 4th, that helps a lot, right? So those are big differences. In overall squad depth that help. You know, Dalot you could have games where Dalot actually doesn't start when Mazraoui and Shaw play. That would be very nice. That would be very nice. There's still, you know, and it's an interesting. Well, let's get into the pre-match aspect, right? Let's get into that part of it. You know, we love doing this. Let's get into the pre-match. Let's look at, like, I'll go to the lineup in a second, but I actually want to show a couple of things first, right? Yeah, if Dalot could get some rest, that would be really good. You know, the midweek game was obviously very interesting in terms of how we played, with Eriksen on the pitch instead of Bruno, with, you know, and obviously it's against much lower opposition, right? Right, Ed, true. 3rd and 4th are pushing, you know, Maguire, yeah, he's going to be pushing for a start. De Ligt is going to be pushing for starts when Euro is starting, and vice versa. Like, they're all going to be pushing for the starting job validly. Eriksen and it does make an interesting team selection, because Eriksen in the 10 is different than Bruno in the 10. And you know, one of the things I was saying in the pre-match, I will talk about Palace first, but in the pre-match to last time, maybe it was the post-match, I don't know, is how much better we were at spreading the ball around. Now, we're not going to see the stats on that, you know, because from that game, it's not going to be added into this, right? Because this is the stats we look at are all Premier League focused for the most part. But let's look at that first, because I want to go back to this and say that, you know, one of the benefits we've had in having, like, this different way of lining up is, oops, I still have, what is going on? No, not City. Hold on, sorry. Oh my God, messing this up. Let me uncheck them. Okay. You know, one of the benefits that we've had, I know I've been thinking about these selection issues and all of that, and you know, one of the benefits that we've had, you gotta adjust for minutes a little bit here, right? So you don't get those crazy things. But is, like, I was sharing before, and if you look at the creation of chances around the team, it's very even. It's very, very evenly spread. You know, Eriksen had a brilliant game against Southampton. He had a brilliant game this week. So he's the only one kind of breaking the chance creation right now. But the rest is pretty even. Ahmad and Marcus here. And I want to show you something, because it's actually pretty cool. One sec. I was really surprised. You know, I was looking at this and I was comparing some players. Here, hold on. I was looking at this data mob thing, right? And comparing some players. And if you look at, like, Rashford and Ahmad, look at them. Look at how similar they've been this season. And that's a really interesting balance. Now, neither of them have an assist, mostly because, you know, going back to this, you know, some people haven't finished their chances, right? But really similar in how they've been playing this year. Ahmad carrying the ball a bit more. We saw some stats on that. But they've been doing very similar style of attack, both very good, high in percentages on key passes and things like that as well, and creating chances and everything. Really, Ahmad has an assist. It doesn't say that he has an assist for some reason in this, and I don't know why, but they should have more. But yeah, look, I mean, it's really interesting to see them playing this similar wingers. Like, they're really similar in so many measures. And I like that. I mean, I like that. I think that's really good. But it makes it interesting to figure out the balance of the team because at the same time, yeah, you're correct. I know he got that assist, and yeah, he does. I don't know, maybe one is. I don't know why it's not showing. He should have a little bit more. Obviously, Rashford's created the most chances on our team without an assist too. But it is tricky because, Rashford, I don't think you get the same output of him at striker as you did in the midweek against Premier League teams. I thought it was a good call, actually, at striker in the midweek. And I don't really like seeing Rashford at striker because I thought against lower opposition, he'd be able to beat them more and he'd get closer to the goal and get more chances. But they're playing really well. At the same time, so is Garnacho. Garnacho finished, he probably should have had at least one more goal, but they're all doing well. The biggest question to figure out is how do you balance that front three now with Hojlund as well? Because certainly Xerxes dropping in has been something that has been huge in the build-up and helping us out and all that. I think we're a lot better when Xerxes gets in there. But at the same time, Hojlund can be more of a focal point. I'm going to say something that I think personally for now, okay? Just personally for now, which is that I feel that Rasmus Hojlund and Alejandro Garnacho at the moment are better impact subs than starters. Just in the way that they play, their directness, where I think that Ahmad, Rashford, and Xerxes are a bit more balanced for controlling games and building in a team. And that's not an insult to them, but they're both direct kind of runners. Xerxes is certainly more well-rounded as a player than Hojlund, but it's good to have all those options, right? But that's kind of how I see for now as the best. And Rasmus was on the bench at the end of last season, and it worked well. He came on and he was scoring as a sub, right? So I think it suited him. I think it helped him. I think that it takes some of the pressure off. And that's why we wanted a striker this year. And I think that sticking with this front three of Rashford, Ahmad, and Xerxes is probably the best that we can do. Now, in the midfield, that's what I think that's an okay conclusion for now. On form, you could always change things up, right? But that balance is really good. And I think those are your best three right now in form. Honestly, in the midfield, I don't know. I really don't know. Because, again, one of the things I was showing is that, look, it's early doors, right? But our chance creation is good. And we scored 7 goals in midweek. Our chance creation this season has been decent. Okay, we've made more chances than Brighton, Chelsea, Brentford, Arsenal, Tottenham, a lot of good teams this year. Okay, and one of the differences here, if you look, is that Bruno's not been as influential. It's not saying Bruno's a bad player or anything like that. It's not what I'm getting at. But he's less influential. He's more influential when we play different. And when we go back, to like the last good Ollie season, we look, 4th in expected goals. This isn't United's only. Hold on, sorry. And I think, Fosuman. Oh, these are really, really tiny samples, right? But Bruno's leading it, right? And then we go to, another year. And it's going to be, Bruno. I went through this actually in a pre-match thing, but it's almost always Bruno leading it, like significantly over other players. And that's not a bad thing. He's a good player, but it's just different. And spreading it around a lot more, you see Bruno way ahead of everybody else, right? And this year, spreading the play around a little bit more is better. And then the question becomes, how do you balance the midfield properly in order to prevent this situation where we're incredibly open all the time, right? And, and that that how do we do that, And so I think that in the midfield, we have a lot more options. I think that Ugarte with Casemiro was actually pretty good. with Eriksen was actually quite balanced. You know, Casemiro could be very more aggressive and get forward and all of that without as many risks, right? Eriksen had a more of a free role because of those two. Well, I think Kobbie Mainoo could do the job Casemiro did next to Ugarte. But Eriksen was so composed in the last two games in how he plays that it was, I mean, he's like 94% passing in the midweek in a game where we won 7-0. That's insane, right? That's good. I mean, it helps with possession, because part of the other factor is when we look at, like, as a team, you know, statistically, we're still too much of a counter-attacking team so far this season for me. And we could see that it's good to be to be good in the counter. If we want to be, and I really do think we do, want to be like Liverpool in a lot of ways, then it's okay to be a counter-attacking team, a team that can score quickly in the attack, but then you also need to be good in the other areas as well. And we saw, like, we scored quite a few counter goals. They weren't really counter goals, even in midweek against Barnsley, but they came after long spells of possession. And, you know, but you have to be able to do both. And Ten Hag said this himself about choosing when to go fast, when to go slow, you know, all of that. If you compare Liverpool, for example, you'll see it. They are also very good at counterattacking, but they are also way better at pressing and possession and attacking. Now, we've improved in some of these areas, but if you're going to do this and be a good counter side, you can't only be a good counter side, right? You have to be a good everything side. You have to be when to go fast and when to go slow. And if we want to be like them, which I do think that's the direction that we're going, then we need to be smarter. We can't only go for the counter, but choose our moments wisely so that we have a lot more attacking build-up as well. And I think in the midweek, we got that balance exactly right. And I think against Southampton, we got it right. But early on, we created problems for ourselves too. And then the other issue is that the press can't be too out of control as well. And that is an area I think is a weakness of Bruno's, is I think his pressing is a bit out of control when he leads it. He opens up a lot of gaps. Anyway, that's the interesting thing. That's the interesting thing. And look, yes, when you think about it in the long run, good question, that about Xavi Simons, right? Yeah, we're looking at potential long-term Bruno replacements. I've been saying it in videos recently because we are looking for attacking 8-10 types, young ones in the future for the long term, right? For the long term, we do want that. We want someone to replace Eriksen and someone who could eventually replace Bruno, could rotate, all of that. So, you know, it's interesting to see, is there a midfield balance with all these players that we have? Because now we have Bruno, we have Ugarte, we have Kobbie, we have Casemiro, we have Eriksen, we have Mason Mount. Can we fit all these pieces together in different setups that would work? Personally, I think you could play Ugarte, Kobbie, Mount. You could play Eriksen, you know, Ugarte, Casemiro, Eriksen, Ugarte, Kobbie Mainoo, and it would all work. Abra, do you think we pressed less against Southampton? Yeah, I do, because I think our press was not working early on. We were getting beaten too easily, and we dropped off of it to be a bit safe, and that's fine. But yeah, there's something still off about it. When we press, it's gotten better in some respects, but I think that when it breaks is when we press and we win, and then we're so intent on attacking that we lose it again. Then the press is out of sorts, and then it either goes badly or we're forced to drop off deeper. We'll do the lineup vote in just a second now. But I think a big part of it is that when you can retain the ball, then here's the thing. And I'll keep going on about this, and I'm never going to stop. And hopefully, when I have this tactics board, you'll see exactly what I'm trying to say soon. Because again, I watched those prior games and all of that, and I really feel like this is the main thing. And it kind of goes under the radar because there's a cause and effect aspect to this. When we press well, and we get the ball, and we don't retain possession, and we give it away quickly, then of course our defense isn't set, our press isn't set, it breaks down, and we either stop pressing or we get run through. That happens too much. Good possession means we're well set up to press, which means we're well set up to defend. Bad possessions mean we're poorly set up to press, poorly set up to defend. I know that's not a groundbreaking take in the slightest, but I think that's our biggest problem. And we cannot build our press isn't there yet, but we cannot build a consistent press until we hold the ball properly in possession so that we have the gaps closed. And then it's fine to drop off sometimes when you're not ready, but we've got to close the gaps before we lose the ball. That's what I would say. That's what I think. So, all right, let's get into this aspect. This is who. Oh, I wanted to. Yeah, one more little thing. No, it's fine. I don't need to go over anything else. We're facing Palace, right? Palace have been really poor this year. They're in the bottom 6, 7. They're 16th right now. They have 2 points on the year. They've created very few chances. They've actually, they're 6th or 7th from the bottom in chance creation. They've also allowed 6th or 7th, the most amount of goals against. They have a few good players. They have a few good players that we have to be careful with dealing with, right? The amount of tackles does tell us our press is average, but I think a big part of it is that our press is broken too often and it's not set up right. So then we have to go crazy tackling and run like madmen. And that's what Kobbie Mainoo's been doing. And it's because we're not structured, right, to defend from a positional standpoint. So we have to go these Herculean individual efforts to defend and tackle the ball. I want to be a good possession team, but deadly on the break. And we can be. And I think that's where the Liverpool example, when to go fast, when to go slow. We cannot go 100 miles an hour all the time, but we still have to be capable. And I think we saw that midweek, and I think we saw that against Southampton. But it's the right moments to press, the right moments to go fast, the right moments to go slow, all of that. I don't think Xerxes and Bruno lack the intensity. I think Bruno is very intense with his press, but it leaves gaps and the timing is bad. And when we do win the ball back, I think he launches it too much and then we're all out of position. And, we have the instructions on wingers like Rashford to run forward like we saw against Liverpool. And then you lose the ball and now you're down a man in the press because he's making the long run. We can't do that. We have to be able to slow it down and make better decisions. Anyway, this was the last lineup. Good point, Andy. However, one thing I want to say as an underrated aspect of Manuel Ugarte is that he wasn't just one of the most volume tacklers, but one of the best interceptors of the ball. Positionally, knowing where he needs to be, jumping in at the right time. But he's very much a player that works well within a team where the press are all supporting each other. If he's going by himself, he's going to open up gaps. But when we're set up properly, he's actually really great at jumping the pass, at knowing when to go and when not to. He does go a lot, and you do want to press, but yeah. If we were to bring in a left back in January, who would it be? I think Anthony Robinson would be the biggest candidate still, but that's just a guess. That is just a guess. He is on our list among the others, like as I've discussed recently. But yes, we're looking at left backs. Yes, we're looking at future, potential 10s, attacking 8s, all of that as well. And Nipan, I definitely keep an eye on at least for January because that's when their season is over. This was the team you all voted for last time. Okay, this was the team you all voted for last time. I'm curious to see if this changes now. I don't think it will, but I'm curious still to see if now people think Garnacho needs to get in this team somewhere. Let's assume Hojlund is healthy, or at least in the team. Let's assume for the purposes of voting that he's in the team. Let's assume that Mount is in a team. They may not be ready, but let's assume. I want to see where people are at in terms of, since they're healthy now and they might be in the squad, let's assume that that they're in consideration for this discussion, because I'm really curious to see if this changes at all now. I feel like this is very close to our best 11 for quite a long time, but I understand the questions. Let's start up top. Yes, striker. Let's get our first vote of Xerxes versus Hojlund now in here. And understandably, you know, we've missed some chances and missed some of the what Hojlund brings too. So maybe it's not totally that easy, but I think for now Xerxes does more for us. But this is your vote. Being clear, that's why I'm including options like Hojlund and Mount who aren't going to start. This is your vote for what you think would be our best team, what you would like to see, not what you think Ten Hag is going to do, but what you think would be our best team, what you would like to see in the team. That's what I'm trying to do with these comparisons in the team. You know, that's what I'm trying to do. Xerxes, Hojlund, okay. That's kind of the point of this section. I like it. It's because it's been fun to be able to compare it to everybody each week and kind of look at it and see how it's going and all that. See if it changes, you know. All right, so Xerxes, yeah, and I would agree with this too myself. I think that right now, you know, Xerxes, what he's bringing as a team is more valuable, and I think when we're looking at it in the long run, right, like, I like building the dynamics that we're building more at the moment, and I think it's kind of working. Even if it could be harsh. And yeah, seeing Xerxes and Hojlund together at times would be nice. And I included Anthony. He scored a goal when he played, so we might as well include him. It would be interesting to see Xerxes and Hojlund together as more of a two with kind of Rashford or Ahmad on the other side, but kind of maybe coming more central behind them or with them. But you really need your fullbacks to get in there for that to work, don't you? I feel like you really need your fullbacks. Like you need Shaw and Mazraoui to be getting involved for that to work. That's what I think. Xerxes instead of Bruno might work. Yeah, there's that too, playing him as a 10, but I feel like that maybe gets... Like, I don't think he's good facing the goal. You know what I mean? How do I put this? I don't think Xerxes is good, like, as a distributor facing the goal and, like, distributing play. He's good dropping in, moving it from side to side, turning around, sending it, and then going. I feel like maybe it's a bit different. You know what I mean? All right, this is going one way only at the moment. Not surprising. And I don't think it's a slight on Garnacho. I think Rashford's retaining his place in our vote this week. I mean, Garnacho had a great game, but so did Rashford, and they've both scored now in 2 consecutive games. So I think that we're gonna keep, you know, that Rashford will probably maintain his thing on this vote anyway. An old school 10, if he plays with his back to goal, he could be good. Yeah, and that's sure, and he could. I'm not saying he couldn't. It's intriguing. For the midfield, let me ask you guys while we're doing this votes. Do you want to go position by position, or should I present it as like a 3? Because maybe that has more of an effect than, like, should I present a bunch of different options of 3? And maybe that presents, you know, I don't know. I feel like that gives, for some reason, I feel like that's different. I don't know why. I feel like it's different when you do it as a 3 versus voting individually, especially for a midfield, because I think that there's a lot of different options that could go there, you know, like that could work as a 3. Do it as a 3? Okay. I'll do it as a 3. All right, stop the count. All right, I think that's Rashford's biggest win at the moment. But to be fair, I think everybody knows if Rashford is firing, you have to have him in the team, right? All right, let's go to our midfield, and this is a curiosity. So choice A is going to be Bruno, Mainu, Ugarte. Let's go Eriksen, Mainu, Ugarte. I'm trying to think of all the possible variations that would be actually like sensible. I feel like everybody's gonna vote for Mainu and Ugarte though. You know, could be wrong. I mean, I'll throw in some crazy ones in here. I'm gonna throw one crazy one in at the end. Here. Do you think we could have a problem with Garnacho this season just because he played so much last season? Now he's on the bench. I think it's a consideration to think about. But I think that, you know, he's, yeah, but I think that he'll start a lot in cups, in Europa League. One of the reasons we need a deep run is we need to get a lot of these players going. I think Garnacho is a very good cup player too, right? Playing in Europa League, there's going to be more space. Playing in the League Cup, there's going to be more space. Yeah. I still expect Bruno, Mainu, and Ugarte to win here, but given all the talk, I'm surprised that that it's as big a win still. But again, you know, I'm not totally surprised. Yeah, I'm not totally surprised, but I'm not saying it's wrong either. But yeah, I mean, we all want to see it too, right? And the thing with Bruno is obviously we know if he can slow the game down, that the talents he brings to the table are there. So, but that's what he has to do. I think that's what he has to show everybody, is that he can slow it down, that he can be more composed. But hopefully this midfield helps. I like Mainu and Ugarte as an idea too. I really do. I think it's interesting. I think someday we will move to a more flat 3, and it would be good for us. I'm gonna stick. Is there anybody on Earth who's still well, I'm sure there are. Is there anybody who's changed their mind about thinking that I'd like to see Mazraoui on the left instead of Dalot? Because we voted for Mazraoui on the left every week, and every week Dalot starts on the left, but he was bad against Southampton on the left. I think Mazraoui would be better. It's still kind of confusing to me. I really do think Mazraoui would be better on the left. He's so technical and all that. I just think he would. It kind of baffles me. And Dalot was so good. He shifts to the right and he's perfect instantly, you know? And when he got to play, because who started on the left? Right. Dalot and Mazraoui both played on the right, but swapped each other, right, on midweek. And Collier played left back. And it's like, I don't know. I think Dalot is so much better on the right than he is on the left, where I think Mazraoui would be good on both sides. But, you know. So we're going to keep doing this, and we're going to keep voting for, we're going to keep voting for this, but we know we're not going to get it. All right, let me give you the center back options. The pairings, which I don't think are going to change. I still want to see De Ligt and Maguire get a run out together, because I actually think they'd be pretty good. Maguire did well when he did well too. I mean, didn't have a ton to do, but he did well. I thought he did well. He stopped a couple of attacks at a couple of points there. We don't really have any other options, do we? I mean, I'm not going to put Johnny Evans in here right now, anyway. That may be, Andrew. That may be him settling in. Yeah, and look, that's what you want from Maguire, ready to step in and do a good job. And he will. And he will. Yeah, this is obviously going one way. But now we get a... Are we doing the Arsenal watch along? Maybe we'll watch the second half together. If I don't, maybe we'll watch the second half together. I'm gonna do the keeper because we finally got We finally got a Bayindir appearance, right? We finally did. I wonder if he'll keep his place in the League Cup. Oh, sorry, I hit the wrong button. You're right. Yeah, I was talking about Maguire and I got mixed up. My bad, guys. Yeah, I was talking about Maguire at the time, about him coming in when he's ready. We got a Bayindir appearance and we learned absolutely nothing because he had nothing to do the entire game. We learned absolutely nothing. Now, Onana, I've defended Onana quite a bit. He did great. He did great. He did great against Southampton. He did. He did great against Southampton. Onana making the pen save. His passing was better. He was sharp. And I've defended him a lot, but I think I like him. I like him a lot. Yeah, we could switch over and do a little watch along after this, but I'm gonna do it on the watch along platform because I want to talk about some things coming over there, but I'll do that in a minute. Yes, yeah, of course he's gonna start. He's gonna start, and he should. He should. I wish we'd learned a little bit more about Bayindir, but we haven't. So, after all of this, yeah, it's the same. It hasn't changed. It's the same team. So, nothing's changed, but maybe eventually, someday, it will change. Someday it will change. Someday we will have a different vote, but that's okay. I do think this is pretty clearly right now our best 11. I think you can debate in the midfield a little bit, and you could maybe pick a little bit on form around here. But for now, from a team shape perspective, this is our best team, in my opinion. Yeah, I think so too. Right now, I think it is. Depends on the opposition, though. I think Eriksen could be better than Bruno for some games, for real. Yeah. But there's a lot. But the nice part is you've got Garnacho, Hojlund to come off the bench. Eriksen, Mount, Casemiro, Maguire, all can come off the bench. And those are players who can change and improve the game and help you a lot. And when Shaw comes back, you'll have Mazraoui or Dalot be able to come off the bench. It's a pretty deep team. You have game changers. You have people who can really do something coming off of the bench. So I think it's easily the deepest squad that we've had in a long time. For real, options off the bench, not just warm bodies, but good players to come off of the bench, and that's pretty exciting to me. So yeah, cool. Well, that makes sense, and yeah. So, I think it's fair. I think that's fair as the best team for now. But I do think you have options, now. You really do. And there's areas you could make changes. And it might work, And you don't have to stick with that. Next season, if you look at it, to me, it's still left back. We've got to buy a left back. We need a left back. I think potentially one more winger. It would still be on the cards. A left back, a winger, and then I think another deep midfielder, because I don't think Eriksen, Mount, or Bruno work as a deep midfielder. And I think the fall off from Kobbie Mainoo and Ugarte is pretty big. So that's where I would say you need improvement. Another deep midfielder, controller type, another winger, another fullback for sure. And then potentially a left-footed center back still as well, I think would be kind of important. I still think Gerard Braithwaite would be awesome for all of that too. A fast physical player, similar to Lenny Yoro, but on the other side, someone who's really fast and has some of those physical traits as well. If we want to change it game to game or even mid-game, we have options now, yeah. Well, Kobbie's been overdoing it, I really do think he's been overdoing it. And he's had to, unfortunately. He's had to. Before I forget as well, one of the things I did want to say, I know not all of you come to watch these. I understand why. It's fine. You don't have to. Watch-alongs are certainly not for everybody. But one of the things that's coming that's pretty cool is I've mentioned on this watch-along platform where the link is below, and I'm not getting paid to advertise this. I'm helping them with this platform. I'm not like a paid advertiser. I'm advertising myself because I want people to come hang out and watch with me. But you know, the reason I've been doing it is there's all these features that they're adding, and this weekend they are a lot better when we win. This weekend, one of the things that they're finally launching, one of the things that I've wanted, and when you'll be able to sign up without the you'll be able to sign up without the referral code. You still need to make an account, but you won't need a referral code anymore. There's a few other little changes. But the other thing that's coming is when I'm presenting the broadcast, the scoreboard that's there on the bottom is going to be improved. And the other thing is the tactics board will be there this weekend. It's finally ready. And so it's really, really cool. It's partnered with Opta and all sorts of stuff where like I can actually, it'll pull the lineup in and you can do all the things like someone can do on TV as a presenter, moving the things around, drawing, all of that. It's actually incredible. It's the coolest tool I've seen for this. And it's going to be fun because not only like mid games or in discussions or at halftime and all of that for the watch-alongs themselves, can we look at things and kind of demonstrate and go over it and everything, but in post-game. So I'll be making like when I do like a post-match video or a pre-match video, I want to do them there as a live that I record and then I'll post it on YouTube so that I can utilize this tool. And so I will hope that more people will hang out there for specifically those videos. I'm not saying it'll replace these, but I'll probably do a second video more specifically talking through the lineup and how it's going to play and after the match and things like that there. So really cool. There's other things too, but that is actually going to be happening then this week. So whether you watch it there or on YouTube, you'll see that. And if you do, then I hope you'll join me. And in a couple of weeks, you won't even need to sign up to watch. You still have to sign up to comment and things like anywhere. But it's a cool platform specifically for watch-alongs, but it's also going to allow us to make these, video discussions over how we're playing and drawing and doing fun stuff like that. Like I've done these videos with Darnish. We want to do them weekly throughout the season. Just how are we playing and everything. And it'll be cool to actually be able to have a tool to use for these videos and do it live. So we can interact with people and talking about all of this. And I can bring people on who know better than me to help and show. But I can also bring guests on to speak and give their piece and use this tool and all of that stuff. So it's really cool, really awesome platform. So whether you join me or not, you'll see the videos of that with it being used after this weekend. I'll try to make one tomorrow ahead of the game or in the morning before the game so that you can see it if you don't join me over there and you just watch them on YouTube. But either way, it's awesome, actually. It's super cool. And it's nice because I like being able to do more and interact more. Stop yakking second half again. Fair enough. So yeah, join me over there if you will, please. Otherwise, you'll watch them here. And that's all I have for the video. What you guys want me to what's actually on right now? Is it Arsenal? I mean, which one would I watch? I guess I could just watch both. There's like 3 good games on though. Monaco versus Barcelona, Arsenal versus Atalanta. I'd want to focus on one. I don't think I can focus on watching multiple games at once while doing a watch along. That sounds nuts. Which one are you most interested in? Which one is the chat most interested in? Which one are you all watching? I'm gonna do a poll. Should I do a poll? Arsenal hate watch. Barcelona semi-hate watch. Semi-hate watch or Atletico. Which one's better? I don't mind sitting here and watching it for the next hour or whatever. On Cheeto, he should be ready soon. Arsenal hate watch. Okay. I think Arsenal hate watch is going to win, isn't it? Cheeto should be soon. I have not heard any issues. Someone did ask me, and I forgot to answer earlier, the stuff about the Class A shares and all that. I do believe, again, like, it's been a year at the end of this year since the takeover, right? 18 months will be when we start to see more stuff happen. Yeah, Harrison, I would agree. We are keeping the ball better, but we could be better. We still could be better. All right. Do I not have work to do? I'll be all right. I did a bunch this morning. I did a lot of work this morning, and I should be fine. I gotta make sure I don't accidentally put this on the screen and get banned suddenly. You know how they are with the and that there's no audio or anything. Okay. No, okay. So I wanted to say I think Arsenal have been pretty mediocre this year. That's my personal take as of now. I think Arsenal have been kind of bad. Atalanta pen. I just turned it on. Penalty check. See Ederson, Partey. Send him off and straight to jail too while you're at it. Yeah, I'll do it here. It's not worth the time switching over to the other platform, though I do love it. But yeah, we'll definitely be doing the watch along this weekend. They're winning, which is fair. They're being robust defensively, but I don't think that they've been good at all. Here, check this out. This is actually wild. Look at this. Look at Arsenal. Look at their rankings. They're shit. Like worse than us. Significantly worse, but they defend pretty well. And they still press decently well. But otherwise, they're pretty shit. Like, they're not good this year. Their performances, the way that they show up, it's kind of bad, They haven't been that great yet. Tifo, I'll be on Tifo on Saturday for sure. I don't want to. With this game already being in the second half, I'm only going to do this for like 40 minutes, so it's not worth switching over, and people are already here watching and hanging out, so we might as well just keep this going. Praying Everton go down so we get Braithwaite for 40 million. Yeah. And Odegaard is out. Yeah. I mean, I think they're gonna struggle. I really do. I think they're gonna struggle. Yeah. I think they're gonna continue to struggle. I've always kind of felt like the way that they go, the way that they play is there's no app yet. There will be an app, and they're aware of the demand increasing for an app. There will be more demand for that, but they have a bunch of tools. Like I said, there's a bunch. Wow, they kept the pen. Now the unfortunate part is I don't have a timer, so that you guys are going to spoil things for me because I'm going to be at least 2 minutes behind here, but or maybe just a minute. Let's see. Lining up. Here we go. Come on. Take it with confidence. Oh, he missed it. And he scores the no. Oh my God! You got to be kidding me, man. David Raya, right? What was that? That was an awful pen, and the keeper's going before the keepers could see it the whole way. Like he was so obvious with it. Everything about that was just terrible. The direction, the power, absolutely awful. That was a terrible pen. That was absolutely terrible pen. That was horrendous. What is that? Oh, man. That's funny. If that was us, it'd put that top. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. Well, there's that too. Yeah, Raya's been superb. Yeah, good double save there. Like, they're getting lucky. They haven't been good, but they're it's kind of funny because they're kind of picking up undeserved points. And yes, that can happen. and good teams do that. But in general, they haven't been good. It's not like they've been good, but like still grinding the wins out. They've been bad and kind of lucky. And I feel like they've been how we have been at certain points in our past. But I do feel like the way that they play is so hard to maintain because it's so strict, so robotic that it's 3 years failing to win and falling off 2 years in a row. Their rotation has always been bad, and that's always been a red flag to me. When they rotate, they're bad. When they play in other competitions, they get knocked out. And I think that's, to me, has been a red flag for years with them, that like they need ideal conditions to operate because the way that they play is so robotic that they can't adapt. And that's a big difference between Pep as a manager and Arteta as a manager. And where Pep is one of the best to ever do it is that he has his boring robotic football, and he totally does. But when something's wrong, Pep has adapted really well. You think about the season with Kevin De Bruyne as a false nine, all of that. He has adapted, he has. He solves problems. You would have never thought of him playing with a Hojlund like number 9, but he does. And he's figured it out. And that is what makes him probably the second best manager ever, right? Or a coach anyway. Because he has, aside from his roboticness, which is very frustrating, he's also an adapter. Whereas I think Arteta does not know how to adapt yet and be more dynamic. And that's why I've always preferred, I preferred Klopp because he's very dynamic and the way Liverpool played, just because it's more entertaining. But yeah, that too. They've been extremely fortunate with injuries, and their stuff. As soon as they don't have a fully healthy squad, they suffer. I imagine like you saw when Saliba was injured at the 2 years ago, they fell off instantly, right? And I don't think that happens to anybody else, honestly. I mean, to us it did when we're bad, but not to the really, really, really good teams, right? I don't think they fall off that hard. I don't think they have the dynamism. I don't know, to carry them in these other competitions. They've always kind of given it away. That's my Arsenal hot take as a glorified, bona fide hater, for sure. That was nice by Saka. Ben White, low cross in. Not quite. That's a foul, ref. Good turn though. That was good work. Getting away from Saliba there. Fouled him too. He fought through it though. See, Arsenal's press here is falling off. I mean, I haven't watched the whole game, but they're not swarming and, suffocating the way that they were. Atalanta, they won the conference last year? Or what did they win last year? They won something last year. Was it the Conference League? Rice running, and out of space and backwards. Europa. Okay, yeah. Sorry, it was Europa. I shouldn't disrespect them like that. Who do I think starts as the? Yeah, they beat Leverkusen. Who do I think starts as the front three? Yeah. The same. Rashford, Xerxes, Ahmad. Rashford, Xerxes, Ahmad. That's what I think. That's right. I remember. I watched that too, and I just couldn't remember it. Now Trossard is going to come on to save them, isn't he? He's also been very good. Yeah. You think Garnacho will start? Okay. He might. I wouldn't be as, like, down on him starting, you know, obviously after scoring in the week and all that and having a good game, you know. Ooh, excuse me. You can see Ten Hag dropping. Maybe. But Xerxes was, like you say, the dynamics were there, and I don't think that. I really don't think we'll play Rashford at striker in the Premier League much. Palace isn't a terrible matchup for him there, but yeah, dropping Xerxes would be bad. I really do. He's the only one I would say, like, honestly, like, you know, like I think you'd get output from Garnacho on the left if he replaced Rashford, even though I think Rashford for sure deserves a start. Same as if you made a change on the right. But I think Xerxes being dropped would be a big mistake because the dynamic was so important to our controlling the game against Southampton. And I don't think we'll be able to control it against Palace like we did against Barnsley without a player like that in there. Especially when it's when it'll be Bruno instead of Eriksen. You need that extra guy coming in for control in Xerxes. That's what I think. He might have, Ed, yeah, because Hojlund had an injury around that time. I can't recall. You know, and it's not even his fault. It's just like, I thought he had a really well-rounded game against Barnsley, but his pace and size and physicality is still not like out and out 9. Against Barnsley, he's faster and stronger than their center backs. But against Palace, that gap is much smaller, if there at all. That's the difference, right? And so you want him getting a little more space rather than being up as a sole 9. 2 breasts. Could you see Bruno dropped, keep Xerxes on and play Garnacho, Rashford, Ahmad? No. Because I also don't think we want to play players out of position. Not that it's a worst idea, but I don't think we would do anything like that. Cuadrado, he's still kicking around, huh? Charles de Ketelaere? Eriksen should. I don't think Eriksen will start. He's played 2 games this week. I don't think he could play 3 games in 7 days. I love watching games and a random player you forgot about. I know, and isn't that like such a football thing to just be like, oh yeah, remember this guy, you know? From this, like, on form, Eriksen starts for me, but got to be practical. Agreed. I think Eriksen deserves to start. He's been our best midfielder. He's put in the best midfield performances of anybody at United this season so far. But 3 games in a week is a lot for him, and I think it's too much. I'm tired. This is what happens when I watch Arsenal. They put me to sleep. No, Bruno does need to step up, though. He's had some poor games. Oh, man, set pieces for Arsenal. That's another way they've just been getting by, right? Set pieces. And that's, I mean, again, these are positives for a team and keeps them competitive, but I still think you need more when it matters. Yeah, I watched that from Darmian. And when he was running and then back heels it to nobody, what a moment that was. That was wild. I was like, what is this guy doing? And I instantly just continue to maintain my conclusion of Matteo Darmian being a very mediocre player because of that, even though I think he's done probably extremely well for Inter for years now. But that was pretty funny. Yeah, bench is way, way better. Yeah. Yeah, our injury list was like a strong team last year. Fair up to that. I tell you, they do. They put me to sleep, Arsenal. What is it with that? All right. I might need to put some volume in my ear on this game. It might help me stay a little bit more focused on actually watching it. So I realize I don't have any sound on. There we go. That'll help. Yeah, Mkhitaryan's been good for them too, hasn't he? But Inzaghi, very impressive as a manager. I mean, the decisions that he's made, how he has them playing, is certainly dynamic. They can do everything, and that's, I think those are the smart teams. I love that style, and I think it's the direction we're aiming to go is to be a team that can do everything. You know what I mean? Like, can go fast, can go slow, can press, can sit in when needed, and it allows them to, but it's good at all of it. Do I think City will get punished? I don't know. First of all, I don't think I honestly don't know. I really don't. I don't want to make assumptions on it because it's like, I honestly won't believe that they'll be punished for anything until I see it, Because we've just seen, how many times do you see corruption in anything go punished? Anywhere. Sports, politics, governments, businesses. How often do they actually get punished? Especially when there's a lot of money involved, Yeah, yeah, it's happened. I'm not saying it hasn't, but yeah, it's 2006, right? Yeah. But it would break. I mean, and I'm not saying it shouldn't happen, but see, that's not corruption, right? The points deduction for Everton, that's just basic rules and penalties. We've seen that enforced plenty of times, transfer bans, things like that all the time, right? But something big like City getting relegated, or title stripped, like, it's almost impossible to imagine that happening today, and that's just how it feels to me anyway. Like, it's such a game changer when something happens like that you're just like, it's a little dirty from Quadrado. Yeah, he knows what he's doing there, actually. Right. I don't know. It's a tricky one. Like, it is a tricky one. And it's also tricky because they've waited so long, like if they punished the years when it's happened, you know what I mean? Like, because it's only up through like 2019 or 2020, right? If they were punishing them when it was happening, it might make more sense. Like Everton getting deducted, like happening now when it was relevant. 4 years after the investigative period, it's just weird for football, I guess. I'm not saying they shouldn't be punished. Do you know what I mean? At all. Because I think they should. It's just, those are the things I can see where they might, I don't know how they deal with it. Yeah, as soon as, they let it happen. It's not like everybody didn't know this was happening either. Like, that's kind of the joke of it. Is like they let it happen and then you're acting like you want to be the arbiter afterwards. Like, you let this happen. You watched this happen for years with City. You watched it happen with Chelsea, You're telling me Roman didn't do anything shady in the early years? And obviously the regulations were different back then. But you're telling me Roman didn't do anything shady for a long time? Like, come on, man. Ooh, that was close from Quadrado. That's all I'm saying. Like, they let it. They let this happen out of greed because the money's good for them, let's be honest. More money in the league, more watching, more fans, more all of it. The problem is it got away from them. Yeah, I think transfer ban. Like, honestly, my hopes, if I settle them, are transfer ban. 12 months or something and a big fine, 50 million or something like that, right? That's my hopes. Does that matter? No. But it might slow them down, you know? Cancel the Etihad. I can't do that, right? Because it's the stadium and everything too. So I feel like this is not feasible. Yeah, you can't fine a rich man. Exactly. It means nothing. A fine means nothing. Fines are for poor people. For a rich person, it's just cost of doing business. Well, I know a transfer ban would do like nothing, but it might slow them down because they have some age. They actually have an old squad. Like if you actually look at City's team, it's actually getting old. You know, that team is getting old. Back, you know, especially in some of their key. Oh, that was weird from Mariah there. They have some older players, right? But 12 months probably not enough because they just go crazy after the 12 months and refresh it. But you know, I don't know. I get it. Look, I'm not disagreeing with you. I think the harsher punishment, the better. I just can't see it. I just can't see it happening. Arsenal really are pretty toothless right now, aren't they? Without Odegaard. There's Trossard going to go on his own. And miss. Back to Atalanta. I hear you. I hear you. The next City manager? Don't they have someone they're like prepping? Yeah, Michelle might be the one, right? Yeah, they'll appeal it, and then it'll take another year for the appeals process, and politics. I don't think they'll title strip. I just don't think it's happening. I think they'd have to do an active current punishment rather than a backdated one. I don't know. I don't think they'll title strip. I don't think they will. They can't appeal? Oh, that's good. Not even through any of the other places? But look, it can feel weird. I mean, what do you do then? You go back, you say, you know, Ollie won a title. Okay, are we bringing him back? It'll add to Rashford's legacy. You know, here we go. I'm going to go on a little bit of a PR thing here. But, you know, somebody shared for me in Discord earlier in the Patreon channels that they said there's two players. One of them has 209 goals and assists and 26,500 minutes. And another player has 205 goals and assists and 27,500 minutes. And they're both United wingers. And it's Ronaldo and Rashford. So Rashford has only 4, or was it 5, less goals and assists in just 1,000 more minutes than Ronaldo's time at United, and a far worse team. And that's wild. Absolutely wild. When you think about that. If Rashford had all these years in a stable team with one manager instead of 5, mind you, in a stable, good team, how he'd be looked at and how he would have developed as well as a player. That's not to say Rashford's as good as Ronaldo. Nobody's saying that, but it's just an interesting thing. Like a player of that quality, what could he have been under the best manager ever? And you know, and a stable, solid team. That would be crazy. Yeah, the back injuries too. Yeah, like just kind of crazy to think about that. It's sad, really, and I hope that, you know, I really do have hopes that we'll win things while Rashford is still here. There's that too. You know, Ronaldo took a bit to get going, but bear in mind that the minutes are about the same. And Rashford was a young kid too. But yeah, when you think about that, right? A team in transition, 8 seasons under 5 different managers, and he still has numbers that nearly match Ronaldo's time at United. That's wild. That's wild. Saka off. Sterling and Calafiori on. Okay. And Saka limps away. Timber off as well. That's crazy, you know? It's just crazy to think that way. And I mean, even still, Rashford's won and been involved in 5 trophy wins for United, even during his years, you know? He's been here a while. Europa League, he was there, even though he was young. Europa League, he was involved, right? He scored a goal. And was it the final or the semifinal? If I'm not mistaken. League, 2 League Cups, 2 FA Cups, maybe? I don't, is it one League Cup? Calamari time. No, I'm with you, Ed. It's more like, I look at it and I think like, you know, Rashford has had his inconsistencies, you know, for sure. And he could do better, and it's been rough at times. But then you look at the circumstances and you think, damn, you know, like if things have been different, you know, how much better? Because I think he's still been a really big strike, almost. I think it could have been even better, you know, under one really good manager and a solid plan and all of that. What's your thoughts on Rashford never stopping outside Carrington or Old Trafford for fans? Yeah, I mean, I don't think it helps. I don't think he has to. I think doing some more there would be better, but you know, I think it's hard when a player loses trust too between them and the fans to get it back. I mean, you saw that thing, like, it's the second most abused athlete in the world. It's Marcus Rashford. How fucking insane is that? And you know it's mostly our fans too. Ooh. And he's who was that? Havertz? No, who was that? Oh, Martinelli. Fartinelli. I think he was offsides too, frankly. What a hit. Yeah, first was LeBron. Yeah. But that's crazy when you think about that. Like, that is crazy. It's the number of abusive tweets, I think, or social media posts counted is how that one was measured. That's insane. But United have like the biggest online fan base in the world, you know? And that's the sad part, is it's probably mostly United fans. That's fucking crazy. You know, and so once it hits that point, I think it's hard for players to have that trust. I mean, you know, he does things, you know, like he did that dedication for a kid and all. I know people call that stuff PR and stuff like that, but whatever, you know, he did it. And, you know, he's done a lot. He did a lot during COVID and all that. And that's part of where some of the hate started from, you know, right wingers and things like that too. It is what it is. But, you know, there's responsibility to go around on all this stuff. For sure. In terms of meeting outside Carrington, yes. I think it's more talking like in and out of the game and stuff like that. But, you know, it is what it is. I don't think it justifies any of it, no. And look, yeah, there's been things that have been poorly advised too. No doubt. No doubt about that. Wow, what a set piece. Who was that? Martinelli again? Who was that? Was that Rice? That was absolutely horrendous. That was a hell of a hit. Arsenal are really impressing in their Champions League here. I hope Atalanta can get a win out of this. The dressing room leaks have stopped? No, absolutely not. There's too many people involved. It's not just players, but there are players leaking. I won't name names at this point because I don't think it helps, but since that's kind of a leak from the dressing room too. Oh, did he, Dabby? That's cool. That England thing was really rough, you know? Is it from that time? Well, that makes a lot of sense, Kenyon, to be fair, because that was during the some of the COVID stuff, and you had people tweeting stuff at him while he was sort of in the public eye and all of that. That actually makes a little bit of sense too, by the way. Planet Fast say he was told by a player the two best in training is Rashford and Antony. There's a lot of stuff there's a lot of people who will always tell you that Rashford's one of the best players in training, week in and week out, works hard, does everything. You will hear that a lot. But no, there's leaks. I mean, a lot of it's harmless, and sometimes it's not purposeful too. I mean, these people have friends and family. I mean, what constitutes a leak? You know what I mean? There's also shit that gets vastly overdone. Like when people are saying like, oh, they hate the manager, they're behind him. When people talk about losing the dressing room, all that kind of stuff, a lot of that is over dramatized stuff based on little things. So like it's also about defining, what's a leak. What does a leak mean, and what are the consequences of a leak, and what are they leaking? Does it matter? I mean, lineups get leaked all the time. Yeah, I mean that's a nice thing to do, Davy, for sure. Yeah, Garnacho's brother said some stupid stuff online, frankly, and I think it would help if he didn't. I'm not gonna blame Garnacho for it at all. I think it would help if his brother did a little bit less. I don't think it's good when you have it's similar when family get involved, and it's like, that could be a criticism of different things, but yeah. Has the media policy changed at all? No, not really, unfortunately, at the moment. Everybody has their credentials. That's always going to be that way, though, to be honest. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. That was nice from Calafiore, to be fair. Oh, to Havertz, too far? Oh, okay. Yeah, Pogba's brother was problematic, and God, what a mess that ended up being. I was thinking about it the other day and got kind of sad, though, Could you imagine the balance of Ugarte, Kabi Menu, and Pogba? Like, that's the midfield we should have built for Paul Pogba. Because that would have been an insane midfield right there. Absolutely incredible. It's too bad. It is too bad. Pogba has more of himself to blame on a lot of stuff too, but at the same time, he's probably one of the most talented players we've had in a long, long time. Yeah, Alvarado, I mean, it's tricky, right? Some of that's injuries. I mean, he was pretty injured for quite a few years. Last year, though, it was just a really bad year for everybody. It's hard to say. With Pogba, some of it's over the top. Look, there was things about him that were bad. And as it got... Here's the thing, though, right? Like, when Pogba started to really... Like, I've talked before about broken promises. I've even defended Sancho on this, and I know people don't like to agree with that, but I strongly stand by it, okay? We as a club treated players awfully. When we would sign them, the things we would tell them we were going to do, a lot of the stuff in there was bad, and it created really fractured relationships. Sancho's relationship with the club was pretty fractured before Ten Hag arrived, and so things got worse, but it was already pretty fractured even in a short time. We did it to Cavani, we did it to Pogba, we've done it to a lot of players. So with Pogba, the problems kind of started after he was feeling that way, and then he wanted to go, and we should have let him. That's the difference between before and now. I think now when players want to go under Ineos, under new management, we know we move. Just get them gone, right? It's better for all parties. Not before. and we held him. And then we still didn't put things together, and he was kind of fading a little bit, and then it got toxic. And yes, he was a pretty bad influence at certain points. He was. But that's not like the crux of it, I think, is that, you start by fracturing the relationship with the players more than anything, and then some of them turn more toxic than others, and yes, that's a difference between them, but that's the difference with any of them. I mean, Ronaldo's one of the best players, maybe the best player of all time, and he's a dickhead, so like, it is what it is, and we didn't even treat him poorly. You know what I mean? Like, when he first asked to leave, I'm saying, but Pogba, I think it was after 3 years he wanted to leave. And I think in those 3 years, he felt like we were going kind of mid to backwards. I think that was a problem. I think that was a problem. But I blame the club more than anything for a lot of that, because people are complicated. They all have egos. They all have issues. They all have this and that. But when you sign these players, I think it gets a little overlooked. I mean, their careers are short, Their careers are fairly short when you think about it. And they may only get 2 or 3 teams to make a difference. It's hard wasting 5 years of your career not winning things. It's hard. Apologize for voting for you to watch the snooze fest of the game. Yeah, I mean, at least we're talking about other shit, because Jesus, this is a bore. What caused the issues between Sancho and the club? Well, firstly, little things like the number. When he was signed, he's going to be the number 7. Then we signed Ronaldo, right? Secondly, and this is also one of the things that led to some of the Rashford stuff, where I had, as well, just in line with that discussion, that, when the Euros happened, right? Rashford, Saka, Sancho were getting huge amounts of racial abuse, right? Online, all over the place. Massive abuse. Mentally, it had... well, there was differences, because initially we weren't even going to keep Cavani, and there was a whole mess of stuff, because it was Cavani and Sancho who kind of ended up being put out by that in the end. It was sort of weird. The whole thing was weird, not going to lie to you. But the bigger factor was this whole, issue. There was all this racial abuse, and this was, of course, Sancho's kind of almost first experience coming back to England. Was all this stuff that was happening, and then they were deep in that. And the honest truth of it is, the club offered them nothing in terms of support. Absolutely nothing. No defense, no support, nothing. Both Rashford and Sancho. And this is one of the issues underlying some of the things with Rashford too, very much. There was nothing. Arsenal, they had like a wall of people, they had a wall of supporters and pictures and all these wonderful things that they were doing. They were posting left and right, like all sorts of things to defend their guy. He's in, Lookman. Ooh, almost. Okay. He, to support him, to back him, to defend him, to do all of it. And, and Sancho, Rashford, they know him, they know the players of the England squad. They look at these things, as I understand it anyway, and we're like, what the hell, man? Like, why does our club hate, this is our club, and it does nothing for us and has no support and has no defense. And it's like, we don't give a shit about you. You just paid £72 million and you're letting this player get racially abused with very little defense and support and all that kind of stuff. And then there's conflicts, why was he signed? What role was it for? That were all changed. A lot of that because of the signing of Ronaldo. It was just a mess. And it was basically like, here you are, we've signed you, and you just dump them, just dump them in the team. Good luck. no direction. So different. I mean, look, it has changed. The amount of conversation, Wilcox, the coaching staff, Omar, Ashworth, being involved on a day-to-day basis with players. And they are involved every day with the players, to meet with them, to talk with them, to go over things, to clear things up, to give them avenues for help, to give them avenues for, issues that they have to talk about. All there now that wasn't there before, and it makes a big difference. And that's why, I feel like no matter what this season, no, the club didn't have anything to do with that, Alvarado. Exactly. And they didn't, and there were people in the city and the fans who did more, not the club. The club did shit, did fuck all about it, it's a shame, really. But yeah, there's just so much more support, and I feel like no matter what, we will be better because of these things that have changed. Things won't spiral the same way, I'm not convinced of Ten Hag. I'm not convinced of the way we're playing. I'm not convinced that we've got it right moving forward. I think we are in a transition, and I think that they know that, and that's why we don't have, we didn't have a long-term contract and all that. I think that they're not convinced, but I think they're thinking in a similar way that I think, which is that let's see. And we're going to fix everything behind the scenes. We're going to fix all these other factors in there to do better, so that we as a club can do better and be better. And then we'll see where Ten Hag gets with that. But we know we're still progressing. And that's how I feel. I think this season we're progressing in a way, relevant or irrelevant to Ten Hag. We're getting a better squad, a better team, a lot of the factors behind the scenes, improving the move, all of that, improving the mood, improving the togetherness, improving the communication principles, all the things you need. Those are all improving. Whether Ten Hag stays or goes, we will still have that progress later on. And I do think improving in at least a direction that we want to play. Ten Hag will be measured at how well he does it at that, right? Can he exceed expectations, meet them, or is he below them? But it doesn't matter. And that's good and bad. But it's good to me overall, because we're not expecting or needing to win things this year, but we can win things, and we can exceed expectation. And let's not restart. Let's keep going. See you later, Alvarado. I'm 4 minutes out of time here, and I'm going to end this too. But thanks for hanging out with me. But yeah, past 3 years or start again. It's not transition if it's always restart. Yes, and they don't want to restart. That's my point. If the manager goes, we're not restarting. If he stays, we're not restarting. We're moving now in a direction regardless. And that's where I expect we will see improvements either way. We will see improvements either way. We're not signing players for Ten Hag's playstyle. We're signing players for the club playstyle, and Ten Hag's job is to implement it and coach. Yeah. We're not going to throw these players out. That's why we didn't sign Amrabat. That's why we pushed to let go of McTominay, because they didn't fit the way as a club we want to move forward. The players we've signed did. And they felt that De Ligt and such, even though they're former Ten Hag player, would fit that. And you can see that. De Ligt is a front foot player. Mazraoui, he could play any game model. The guy's incredible. You know what I mean? That's why I didn't have concerns over him, because his ability, his toolkit. There's no such thing as a game model Mazraoui couldn't play in my opinion. If Ten Hag was sacked tomorrow, who do you think we'd hire? I honestly don't know. I don't know. I really think they still like Thomas Frank a lot. And I really do think in the long run we could get, he's going to end up at a big club. What is the club's playing style model? As I understood it, it's, obviously it's hard to define it in an exact way, but I've said before that some of it was made off the evaluation of a bulk of the players that we have that we want to keep. And I think it is similar to Klopp and Liverpool. I think it is. I think that's a lot of what it is. It's 2 a.m. in India. Cheers, James. Thanks for doing this. Cheered me up at hospital. Hey, I hope you feel better, man. I hope you feel better, man. I really do. Whatever's going on, I hope it's all right, and I'm glad you could hang out and have a good time. I'm just saying they like Thomas Frank. I'm not saying they're like in talks to hire him or anything, but anyway, as I understood it, it would be closer to like when I understood in summer some of the targets, and they evolved. You know, they evolved through the summer at the start from where they were. But, you know, like Wilcox was really heavy on wanting Ugarte in as well as Xerxes, you know, and I look at the model and I think that fits and was really big on Rashford too, by the way. I've said that before and you can see it with how we're playing on building a team with fast and direct forwards, but kind of more playmaking through the middle, but really hardworking midfield. There's Liverpool aspects to this more than Pep aspects to this. So I think it's closer to Klopp than it is to Pep as a style, that we can go fast. We certainly do not want to not be a team that go fast. And I think that's one of the reasons Ten Hag could stay, right? And like could stay this summer. And they weren't like, there's no way he could stay. Because Ten Hag has played this football. It's not that dissimilar to Ajax. You're right. It's not that dissimilar to Ajax when he was there. They have had a team that could go fast. The question is, does he have the ability to implement that in the Premier League? But it's, you know, he's not Ten Hag is more pragmatic than I think people think. But he has very much had teams that go fast. They are not necessarily just boring, you know, possession teams that possess for possession's sake. They don't look like Arsenal. Our last kick, yeah, that's it. Arsenal and Atlanta 0-0. That was a snooze fest. That's all right. Atletico got the winner. Yeah, full time there. Good for them. Yeah. Athletic. Oh yeah, look at that. They did. Barcelona have lost. Oh, they were down to 10 against Monaco. Wow. Oh, they've been down to 10 since 10 minutes with Eric Garcia, huh? Yes, 2019 Ajax as a style. Yeah, there's ones like that. Evening, see. Have a good one. All right. So anyway, yes, I'm gonna end it here now because God, now I've been live for what 2 hours. I've not done a normal live stream like that on here. But thank you all for hanging out with me and just shooting the shit for the last hour during this game. Again, please join me on TIFO this weekend using the link below. Like I said, new feature coming out. That's going to be really awesome. A lot of fun. And we will, you know, it's going to be a blast. I really hope to see you all there. And hopefully we can continue the progress that we've made and have a good game at the weekend. But thanks a lot, guys. Hanging out with all of you. It's been fun. Appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. I will be taking the day off tomorrow. Yeah, there'll be an app eventually for TIFO, a little later because they're still developing. But thank you. See ya, Ed. See ya, Rico, Jack, Davy, Bruno Fernandes, Con, Nobi, Rico. See all of you. See you all later, okay? Have a good one. Yeah, I like hanging out with me. But that's how I feel too. Hopefully it does for you as well. But yes, have a